In the ever-shifting world of the young and the restless, passion and pride are once again steering Kyle Abbott toward the edge of heartbreak. The latest developments suggest that his impulsive nature and inability to let go may soon collide with a harsh dose of reality, one that could forever alter his view of love, loyalty, and redemption. After months of emotional whiplash, Kyle is once again fixated on Claire Newman, the woman who briefly softened his guarded heart before shattering it in ways he never expected. Yet his fixation blinds him to the warning signs that everyone else seems to see so clearly: his habit of charging into situations without reflection, believing that sheer willpower can rewrite another person's feelings. This is the same pattern that destroyed his marriage to Summer, the same impatience that poisoned his second chance with Audra, and now, it seems, the same recklessness that might cost him everything with Claire. The tension first ignites when Audra Charles, never one to hold back, stokes the fire of Kyle's insecurity. She knows exactly how to push his buttons, delivering subtle reminders that Claire has been spending time in Los Angeles with Holden Novak, the enigmatic newcomer whose calm confidence and artistic sensibility have begun to draw Claire out of her emotional shell. Audra frames it as casual gossip, but her words are calculated, designed to make Kyle squirm, to remind him that while he wavers between two worlds, the business-driven heir of Jabot and the desperate lover-chasing redemption, Claire is living freely, unburdened by his chaos. For Kyle, this is unbearable. His mind becomes a battlefield of jealousy and justification. He convinces himself that Claire's trip to Los Angeles isn't about self-discovery or professional growth but about escaping him, about finding solace in someone who isn't haunted by the Abbott family's endless drama. Unable to endure the thought of losing control, Kyle begins plotting. The decision forms quickly, impulsively, just like every other decision that has led to disaster. He tells himself he is going to Los Angeles to fight for love, but the truth is much darker: he is going there to reclaim something he believes belongs to him. It's the same dangerous entitlement that has long shadowed his relationships, the belief that his devotion, no matter how suffocating, should guarantee loyalty in return. Jack and Diane notice his growing agitation. Jack, weary from decades of watching his son repeat his mistakes, tries to reason with him, reminding him that love can't be negotiated or forced. Diane, torn between maternal protectiveness and frustration, warns him that chasing Claire might destroy what little dignity he has left. Yet Kyle won't listen. His heart, wounded and restless, overpowers his reason. He books the flight, packs his things, and heads west, convinced that once he stands before Claire, everything will fall back into place. But Los Angeles has a way of stripping illusions bare. The city's glittering facade hides 1,000 heartbreaks, and Kyle is about to add his own to the list. When he arrives, the first thing he notices is how different Claire seems. Gone is the cautious, hesitant woman who once second-guessed every decision. There's a serenity about her now, a quiet self-assurance that unnerves him. Holden's influence is unmistakable: the way Claire talks, the way she moves, the way she seems lighter, freer. She's no longer the woman waiting for Kyle's approval or validation. And in that realization lies his greatest fear: she doesn't need him anymore. Still, Kyle refuses to accept it. He follows her through meetings, rehearsals, and chance encounters, each time trying to remind her of what they once had. He brings up shared memories, old promises, the familiar refrain of "we belong together." But Claire, polite yet distant, keeps him at arm's length. Her eyes betray a compassion that cuts deeper than cruelty. She doesn't hate him, and that hurts him more than if she did. Because her forgiveness means closure, and closure is the one thing Kyle can't face. As the sun sets over the city, Kyle makes his boldest move yet, showing up at the hotel where Claire is staying. He believes that if he can just talk to her privately, she'll remember the connection that once burned between them. He knocks on the door, heart pounding, desperation disguised as courage. What happens next becomes the turning point of his journey, the moment where obsession meets consequence. The door opens not to Claire's tearful embrace, but to a scene that freezes him in place: Claire, in Holden's arms, both startled and half-dressed, the unmistakable intimacy of the moment slicing through his illusions like glass. For a heartbeat, no one speaks. The silence says everything. Holden, though visibly uncomfortable, steps forward with quiet dignity, ready to face whatever storm Kyle unleashes. Claire, though shocked, doesn't hide. She doesn't scramble to explain, doesn't pretend it's a misunderstanding. Her calm acknowledgement, her refusal to feel guilty for moving on, is what truly shatters Kyle. In that instant, all of Kyle's bravado collapses. He feels the sting of his own arrogance, the bitter truth that love isn't a prize to be reclaimed. Yet the humiliation curdles into anger. His voice rises, his words sharp, his emotions raw. He accuses Claire of betrayal, of moving on too fast, of using Holden as an escape. But beneath the fury lies heartbreak. He had imagined himself as the hero flying across states to reclaim the woman he loved, not the intruder in a story that has already ended. Holden, ever composed, doesn't retaliate. His silence only amplifies Kyle's collapse. Claire finally steps forward, her voice steady, explaining that their connection wasn't about him, it was about finding herself again after years of being defined by other people's expectations. For the first time, Kyle sees her not as the woman who loved him, but as someone who has outgrown him. The aftermath is brutal. Kyle stumbles out into the night, the city's lights blurring through tears he refuses to shed. He checks into a hotel across town, where the weight of what he's lost finally settles in. He replays every moment of their relationship, every argument, every ultimatum, every promise he failed to keep. He realizes that his greatest flaw isn't love but control. He has spent his life trying to script relationships, to fix people, to earn affection through grand gestures instead of humility. Los Angeles, with all its false promises, becomes the mirror he can't escape. Back in Genoa City, word spreads quickly. Audra hears of Kyle's meltdown and masks her satisfaction behind feigned concern. Jack feels a mix of pity and frustration, while Diane, in quiet grief, wonders if her son will ever learn to love without destroying what he touches. Even Claire, guilt-ridden despite her resolve, can't entirely erase the memory of Kyle's heartbreak from her mind. She knows he didn't come to hurt her, he came because he couldn't accept that she was no longer his to save. In the weeks that follow, Kyle faces his reckoning. Jebo suffers from his distraction, and his once sharp instincts fade beneath emotional exhaustion. He avoids family dinners, ignores calls, and isolates himself in his office, drowning in the same loneliness he once inflicted on others. Jack eventually forces a confrontation, reminding him that failure, both in business and love, is survivable, but only if he stops running from it. Slowly, Kyle begins to see that his downfall wasn't caused by Claire's choices but by his own blindness to her autonomy. Meanwhile, Claire and Holden's bond deepens, though not without complexity. She's haunted by the image of Kyle standing at that doorway, a symbol of the man she once loved but could no longer follow. Holden, patient yet perceptive, knows that her past won't vanish overnight. Still, their connection is genuine, grounded in mutual respect rather than possession. It's everything Kyle once promised her but could never sustain. As autumn descends on Genoa City, Kyle's story transforms from a romantic tragedy into a cautionary tale of self-discovery. For the first time, he confronts the truth that love cannot thrive under pressure or control. Whether he will rise stronger or sink deeper into regret remains to be seen, but one thing is certain, the boy who once believed he could conquer love through willpower is gone. What remains is a man humbled by loss, standing at the threshold of something new, not redemption yet, but perhaps the beginning of understanding. Because in the young and the restless, heartbreak is never the end. It's the crucible that forges the next chapter, and for Kyle Abbott, the lesson of Los Angeles will echo far beyond the city lights, reshaping every choice he makes from here on. The latest developments surrounding the young and the restless are pushing Kyle Abbott to the brink of a new emotional implosion, one that could finally shatter what remains of his self-control and force him to face the ugliest parts of his nature. The situation has become increasingly volatile since Claire Newman decided to distance herself from Kyle and focus on her own independence. Her final argument with him wasn't just another spat between two wounded lovers, It was the last spark that ignited her need to reclaim her freedom after months of manipulation, guilt, and heartbreak. Kyle's inability to respect boundaries has always been his downfall, and this time, it's propelling him toward a disaster that even his charm, family name, and money can't undo. Claire, meanwhile, has reached a point of self-realization that no longer requires his validation, and that newfound autonomy might lead her down a path that surprises everyone, including herself. The fallout of their argument leaves Claire raw, vulnerable, but also strangely empowered. The emotion of the fight lingers in her chest like a wildfire she can't extinguish, pushing her to take risks she normally wouldn't. Her trip to Los Angeles, which began as a professional opportunity, becomes something more symbolic, a chance to redefine herself outside the shadow of Kyle Abbott's influence. She spends long hours with Holden Novak, the quietly confident man who seems to understand her without judgment. Unlike Kyle, Holden listens without trying to control, encourages without demanding, and accepts her flaws without using them as leverage. It's no wonder that after everything she's endured, she feels drawn to him in ways she doesn't fully understand. Their connection, born from late-night conversations and shared vulnerabilities, begins to blur the line between emotional comfort and physical attraction. Of course, Genoa City's gossip grapevine, led by none other than Audra Charles, ensures that Kyle learns about Claire's growing closeness to Holden. Audra delivers the news in her trademark fashion, casually cruel, knowing exactly which words will cut the deepest. She hints that Claire and Holden have been spending long nights together, that Los Angeles has done wonders for her confidence, and that maybe, just maybe, she's finally found someone who treats her the way Kyle never could. The implication is enough to send Kyle spiraling. He tries to tell himself that he's only worried about Claire's well-being, that Holden might be taking advantage of her vulnerability, but the truth is far less noble. It's jealousy, pure and consuming, twisting his pride into paranoia. He convinces himself that he needs to fly to Los Angeles to save her from making another mistake, but what he's really doing is chasing his own fear of being replaced. When Kyle arrives in Los Angeles, the city feels foreign to him. Too bright, too superficial, too indifferent to his turmoil. He checks into a hotel a few blocks away from where Claire is staying, his mind racing with half-formed plans. He imagines grand gestures, heartfelt apologies, dramatic reunions. But the longer he stays alone, the more that hope mutates into obsession. He starts making inquiries, casually asking around about Claire's whereabouts. Eventually, through charm and persistence, he learns which hotel she's staying in, and even the room number. From that point on, it's as if reason leaves him entirely. There are two possible paths to this confrontation, both equally destructive. In one version, Kyle simply can't contain himself. He walks to her hotel, stands in front of her door, and knocks, intending to surprise her with flowers or an apology, anything that might reignite what they once shared. In the other, more reckless version, he talks his way into obtaining a key card, convincing himself that a spontaneous romantic gesture will win her over. Either way, the end result is the same. He steps across a boundary he was never meant to cross, setting himself up for a heartbreak that will haunt him for years. The moment he opens that door, or it opens to him, everything inside him collapses. The air is heavy with intimacy, the kind that needs no explanation. The first thing he sees is Holden, half-dressed and startled, turning toward the door with confusion. Holden's assumption that it's room service makes the scene even more surreal, but it's the sight beyond him that truly destroys Kyle. Claire, lounging on the bed in delicate lingerie, her hair loose, her expression dazed with the kind of softness that once belonged to him. It's not the physical closeness that devastates Kyle, it's the unmistakable emotional intimacy in the room, the quiet trust between two people who have crossed the threshold of friendship into something deeper. For a second, Kyle can't move. His body goes cold, his mind blanks. All the rehearsed speeches, all the imagined scenarios, disintegrate. The reality of what he's witnessing slams into him with cruel precision. Claire has moved on. The woman he came to rescue doesn't need saving, she's already free, and that freedom doesn't include him. Holden, realizing who's standing at the door, stiffens but remains composed. Claire, caught between shock and indignation, pulls herself up and meets Kyle's gaze without flinching. She doesn't apologize. She doesn't scramble to explain. Her silence, her calm defiance, hurts him far more than any words could. Kyle's emotions explode in a storm of rage, disbelief, and humiliation. He lashes out, accusing her of betrayal, of being impulsive, of proving everyone right about her fragility. But his words sound hollow even to him. Deep down, he knows this isn't betrayal, it's consequence. Every warning Jack gave him, every piece of advice Diane tried to offer, every tear he ignored from Claire herself, it all led here. His love wasn't love, it was control disguised as devotion. And Claire, at long last, has broken free. Holden, refusing to escalate the situation, simply tells Kyle to leave. His tone isn't aggressive, it's pitying. That, more than anything, sends Kyle over the edge. He storms out, his chest heaving, the image of Claire and Holden seared into his memory. The drive back to his own hotel feels endless. He sits in the dark, staring at the city lights, each one a reminder of how far he's fallen. Los Angeles was supposed to be the place where he fixed everything, where he proved himself as the man Claire needed. Instead, it's where he's forced to confront the truth that he never really knew her at all. Back in Genoa City, the fallout is immediate. Audra hears whispers of what happened and feigns shock while secretly savoring the drama. Jack, ever the weary father, feels both heartbreak and disappointment. Diane can only shake her head, knowing this will scar Kyle more deeply than any business failure ever could. Claire, meanwhile, struggles with the aftermath of the confrontation. Though she doesn't regret choosing her own path, she can't ignore the guilt that comes from watching someone she once cared for unravel before her eyes. Holden becomes her anchor in the chaos, but even he senses that part of her is still haunted by what happened at that door, not because she misses Kyle, but because she never wanted to be the cause of his destruction. The incident becomes a defining moment not just for Kyle, but for everyone around him. It marks the end of his illusions and the beginning of his reckoning. For the first time in his life, he's forced to see the mirror of his own flaws without denial, the entitlement, the jealousy, the desperate need for control masked as love. It's a humbling transformation that will take months to unfold, but one that could eventually lead him toward redemption if he chooses to face it honestly. As for Claire and Holden, their relationship will inevitably face scrutiny. Some will question whether it began as emotional comfort or something more opportunistic. Others will see it as a natural evolution, two people finding solace in each other after chaos. Whatever the truth, one thing is clear, Claire has finally taken control of her own narrative. And for Kyle Abbott, who has spent his entire life believing that love could be conquered by sheer force of will, this is the one loss he cannot manipulate, the one ending he cannot rewrite. In the world of the young and the restless, love rarely ends quietly. It unravels in the most spectacular ways, through passion, betrayal, and revelation. And as Kyle walks away from that Los Angeles hotel room, shattered and unmoored, he finally understands that some doors, once opened, can never be closed again.